Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
Welcome to the dungeon officially.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so typical Sunday morning for me, and I think we talked about this before we decided to record. I'll be out madwhack riding.
Yeah, right, okay. Oh, well, hopefully you didn't have anything planned.
I actually made the plans knowing we were doing this. I went madwhack riding yesterday instead.
Good one. Nice.
So I skipped church because I normally go to church on Saturdays. Skipped church and did church on the bike.
Very good. Very good. I'm down with that.
Yeah, works for me.
Yeah, that's it. Man.
Yeah. So for everybody listening in, your name is James. And do you say Lafiatis or?
Yeah, Lafiatis is my last name. Yep. Yeah, you said it pretty well. Not many people get it right to start with. Anyway. Yeah.
I was trying to emphasise the laugh part of it, so Lafiatis.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's it. I like to think of myself as pretty happy-go-lucky, so yeah, makes sense.
That's the way.
Yeah, that's it.
Good stuff. So, James, wanted to touch on a few different points with you for this interview. Probably the first thing we want to look at is what you did before you went into lawn mowing. So you've only been lawn mowing more recently, right?
Yeah, I started my business in October of 20. So
3 years.
3 years, yeah. Yeah, that's what you do at the start of COVID, I suppose, eh? Or in COVID.
And I'm guessing it was a midlife crisis.
Not
quite midlife yet.
Not quite. Yeah, I hope not midlife yet. But yeah, look, it was a usual, I guess, sick of working for the man and needed a change. Needed a big change, actually.
Yeah. So, what sort of work were you doing?
So I've worked in a few fields over my lifetime so far. Started off working retail. Worked for Woolworths for a good 15 years as a young fella.
Yep.
Previous to that, I worked in fruit shops and servos in my early teens.
Yep.
Then worked for Woolworths, worked for IGA, and then had a bit of a career change. Probably what year would it have been? 2015.
Yeah.
I moved into the rail industry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started
out of retail and into rail.
Yeah, that could have been my midlife career change crisis, I think, because I was getting quite sick of retail. So yeah, I worked in rail in what they call their live management of trains. So I worked for a company called Pacific National.
Yeah, okay.
So basically monitored the trains that were on the network, making sure they were on time and crewed correctly so they could get from point A, B, C, and D.
So were you sitting in front of a computer and a bunch of cameras?
Pretty much. Not so much cameras. It was all GPS tracked. So you've got a map of Australia, and you can see your trains moving in front of you on the screen. We had about eight screens going for what we had to do, and 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
In an office.
So in the old days, that would have been on a spreadsheet, but I'm guessing with software nowadays and the GPS tracking, it would be more of a visual feed.
Yeah, you can see them moving around on the map, which is good, but believe it or not, they still had the big A1 sheets of graph paper where you had to sit there and map out your train and make sure it was on time. Yeah, so you'd have basically a baseline where it had to be time and place and make sure it stayed on track.
Yeah. But that'd be entertaining for a while to be looking at trains moving all around Australia and.
Yeah, look, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a high stress environment, that's for sure. But,
I can imagine.
Yeah, but I guess the shift work got to me after a while. You're sort of, it's not a really healthy balance to do, and I did that for about 4 years, I think. So towards the end of it, I was getting pretty fed up with myself, to be honest.
I've done shift work before as well. Places like the Ambo's doing now is they tend to do 2 days, 2 nights, or I think they've recently just split it up into afternoons and nights as well now. So they've got a few variations, overlapping shifts as well.
Yeah, righto. Yeah.
That would kill me, just constantly changing sleep habits because the shifts are changing.
Yeah, exactly right. I was pretty thankful in that particular roster. It was a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then you'd do that for a couple of days and then you'd do 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And then have a few days off and then start again. So it was a fairly consistent roster, but it still took it out of you, especially the night shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sit there and you try and have healthy habits, but after a while, you get into the old chockies and Red Bulls at 3 a.m. type thing, and it's it's not a healthy habit to maintain.
Yes, that's it. I'm just I'm trying to switch my devices onto Do Not Disturb because I just got a notification, and I'm like, how do I? They've changed the watch, so all the things are different now. Do Not Disturb, and on until I leave this location. That's better.
Clever.
Yeah, so that shift work, I think the Ambos do something like a 12-week roster, so their shifts change according to what roster they're on. But not for me. It's been a long time since I've done shift work, and when I was doing it, I was actually doing it in a factory environment, and I was renovating my house, and my son was like, I'm going to say almost newborn. I think he was probably 1 year old through to 2 years old when I was busy doing night shift and renovating and looking after him while I was renovating. And let's just say that doesn't work well.
No, been there, done that. Yeah, my partner and I were both shift workers for that period of time, and we fell pregnant, and she had time off work while I was still on shift, and newborn and shift work just does not work.
Well, I guess on the positive side there, no form of sleep works well when you got a newborn. So
I suppose you do get used to the lack of, don't you?
But it's going to hurt you one way or another. And if you have a few kids, then by the time you get through 2 or 3 kids going from newborn to when they actually sleep through the night, that's a pretty big toll on your body. You sacrifice as a parent.
Yeah, true that. Absolutely.
I've been really fortunate with my kids. They were sleeping through the night by about 10 to 12 weeks.
Oh, stop it. All right. Can we end this now?
Boy. It sounds like your son, you said he's 5 years old.
Yeah. Look, he's pretty good. He sleeps through the night most nights. Sometimes we'll wake up.
He's full on by the sounds of it. Go.
Yeah, he's always on the go. Yeah. And, we get the 3 o'clock in the morning wake up when he tries to squeeze himself into bed with us. And he does that from time to time. He hasn't gotten out of that habit yet, but thankfully the other 3 have.
Yeah. Well, my son used to do that. He used to wake up, get restless, and come and jump into my bed. And I was separated from my first marriage when he was 2 years old. So for a period of time in between the first marriage and the second marriage, he just thought that was the acceptable thing to do, was to just wander out of his bed. Sometimes he'd even just fall out of bed in his sleep because he'd move around so much. He'd wake up, he'd come and jump in my bed.
Yeah, it's it. It's a comfort factor, isn't it?
And the killer was, if it was 5:30, 6:30 in the morning, and typically 5:30, not 6:30, he'd be wide awake. He wouldn't want to go back to sleep, and he would actually sit on my head if I wouldn't wake up and play with him.
Good fun.
And for a 12-month-old to 2-year-old, sitting on your head is not sitting still.
No. There's no way you can rest through that, is there?
No.
Yep.
Now the memories.
Yeah,
now he's 20. He doesn't do that anymore.
Oh, okay. Lucky you, eh? Far out. My eldest is 15.
Okay, yeah.
So I've got 15, 14, 12, and 5.
Yeah, it's a big gap from the 12 through to 5. But I've got 2 stepchildren and 2 of my own children. So my son from a first marriage, my daughter from my second marriage, and my wife has the 2 from her first marriage. So they range by about 10 years from oldest to youngest as well.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Yeah, the eldest 3 of mine are with a previous marriage as well. So hence the gap between 3 and 4.
Yep, fair enough. So do they all live with you, or do you get like every other weekend or some sort of shared care arrangement?
Yes, at the moment my first and third live with me full time.
Yep, nice.
Yeah, the middle boy, he's with his mum full time.
Yeah.
I do see him from time to time. We have a little bit of a strained relationship, unfortunately, but
any situation with shared care, breakups and marriages and those sorts of problems, there's a lot of strain on it.
I totally agree. Yeah. There's a lot of toing and froing. I mean, I guess in the main, I'm quite amicable with my ex-wife, so that's a plus. So we do try hard to keep, I guess, the kids happy foremost, and then ourselves as well. So it's pretty good that way.
Yeah, that's it. That's the important thing, is making sure the kids get what they need, and then they can see their both parents supporting them.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So let's bring this back around to work. And I mean, family is a really important aspect of what we do, and probably had a massive impact on you choosing to change jobs, I'm guessing too. But you were doing the railway for how many years?
Only 4 years in that capacity.
Yeah.
And then that's when I resigned and wanted to get into self-employment. It was a bit of I guess it was something that I was thinking about for a little while, probably 6 months, seriously thinking about it. And, usual story, I think, from what I've spoken to a lot of people, is, like the opportunity just sort of landed in my lap, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the I guess the catalyst was I had a buddy of mine that was a Jim's franchisee in Wollongong.
Over the last few months, I've had the opportunity to get a couple of my favourite girls on the right ZK61, and it's great to get their feedback on it. The girls found the hand controls quite a stretch for small hands. It is much easier to wrap your palm and fingers around the controls than squeeze the controls between your thumb and fingertips. Overall, they said the machine was easy to operate, quick and manoeuvrable, and covered a wide area on each pass.
I guess the catalyst was I had a buddy of mine that was a Jim's franchisee in Wollongong.
Oh, nice.
And he was looking at moving.
Yeah.
And he said, well, yeah, you want to work as a subby for me for starters, and I'll give you a bit of training and teach you how we do things and go from there.
Yeah, nice.
So, 6 months with him as a subby, and then he moved in that period of time, so I was essentially doing it all myself, all of his Wollongong customers, and thought, all right, this is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were contemplating leaving the railway, were you thinking need more money, or were you thinking I need more control over my time and my family?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it wasn't the money, because I was on a pretty damn good wicket working for the railway. That was a good six-figure income.
Yeah, and I think most people that leave a decent job to start lawn mowing, it's usually a backward step financially initially, and then hopefully it comes back and goes the other way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, look, there was never any expectation that I was going to earn 100,000 in the first couple of years of mowing lawns.
Yeah.
So it was purely lifestyle and a health choice as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I'm guessing, given that you did that through COVID and through the wettest seasons that I've seen in 13, almost 14 years, you would have had more work than you can handle, and it'd be pretty easy to crack that 100,000.
Well, look, you'd think so. I guess on the flip side too, because I was so inexperienced dealing with that immense rain season that we had through that summer.
Yeah.
There were a lot of times where you just couldn't get onto lawns as well.
Yeah, that makes it hard, doesn't it?
Yeah, so you're not getting that constant income, because you might go a week without being able to mow because it was torrential for a week at a time. And then when you do get back on them, they're twice as long as usual. So you're working harder for that.
Yes.
For that same dollar value. So it was pretty tough.
Yeah, there's been so many times in my career where I've gone from the lawns are brown and it's no point turning up, and this is in the middle of the growing season, so all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 weeks of rain, can't touch it, and then it's 3 foot long.
Yeah, exactly right. Absolutely. Yeah. It was a very, very big juggling act, I guess. But I mean, on the plus side for me too, I guess, and I'm not sure if too many people are aware, mowing isn't just what I do. I also do a lot of handyman stuff as well, and maintenance.
Yeah. Okay.
So I do have a little bit of that to fall on, and I do not I basically, I use the summer season as purely lawns, gardens, and all
Yeah,
that.
okay.
And then when I head into winter and it quietens off, that's when I ramp up my maintenance.
Yeah, okay. So what sort of handyman maintenance work do you do? I'm guessing bit of carpentry, bit of
Yeah,
fence repairs.
yeah. I'm pretty good at fencing and carpentry. Carpentry is my passion.
Okay.
Dad was a carpenter and a builder, so I learned a lot of stuff from him. While I'm not qualified, I can do just about anything. So I am mindful of not taking on anything that's too big. So just
Yeah.
general repairs. I have a couple of real estates that I do a bit of work with, and yeah, just mainly just rental repairs and the light new build type stuff. Like I can build decks and fences
Yeah.
and things like that. So
So is setting door jams your favourite thing to do?
oh, Jeebus, yeah. You know what? In saying that, I'd rather set a door jam than paint something. So
Okay, fair.
I try and steer away from the painting.
I've got a friend who's a carpenter, and he's a qualified carpenter. Did his apprenticeship with a builder, and then he's moved into the Ambos. But I got him to do some work with me on my house, and we've done quite a few things. And one of those jobs was just getting the entryway sorted out. And I said, I want to do tiles in the entryway, and he'd help me do some floating floors. And he says, I don't do tiles. No matter what you say, I do not
Yeah,
do. I
yeah,
said, well, I'll do it because I'd
yeah.
done a few tiles before when I'd done my
Okay.
own renovations.
Yep.
So he's like, all right, look, I'll help you. I'll hand you the tools and you can do the tiles.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. Fair
And
enough.
they came up pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it.
don't look too close, but
No,
yeah.
that's it. Don't worry about it. They're at floor level. You should, if you're a kid crawling around, you might notice a few gaps, But
Well,
that's about it.
they were on concrete, so it wasn't too rough. Yeah.
That's it. You just blame the concrete underneath it for it not being level and straight.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't doubt they would have been significantly better if I'd paid somebody else to do the job.
Yeah,
But
well, that's it.
it's one of those jobs which a carpenter doesn't want to do, tiles and painting. And I think my friend also hates doing the plastering. He's just like, no, I don't do the plastering, get a plasterer.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I'm not too bad. Yeah. Not perfect, but not too bad.
I think putting up the gyprock's not a major issue, but getting it set.
Yeah, that's always the finishing. The
Yeah.
finishing's always tricky when you don't do it very often. That's probably where you come unstuck. Obviously plasterers have all the tricks that under their belt there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. So you've got an interesting business in terms of buying into a gyms franchise.
Well, to be honest, I actually didn't buy into a gyms. So
Okay.
yeah,
Your mate left as a gyms franchise, and
he did. Yeah.
did he sell you the customers independently rather than through gyms?
Yes, he did. Yeah. Not all of them though. So a lot of them he abandoned essentially.
Okay. Fair.
There were a couple that wanted me to stay on.
Yeah.
As their gardener and lawn care person, which was good for me. I basically just did it as the experience, and I still have probably 5 or 6 of those original clients on my books,
Yeah. Okay.
which is quite good. And I mean, to be honest, a lot of them actually did stay on with me after he left.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I believe at the time the franchisor in the area wasn't all that active. I think he was based in Sydney and was also looking after the Illawarra at the time. So I think they sort of fell by the wayside, to be honest. But
yeah.
And I've done full circle with my business as well. So in the 3 years that I've been in business, I've gone from full time in the business to now part time at the moment for the last 12 months.
Yeah. Okay.
So as much as I did keep a lot of those original customers, I had to let them go at some point as well.
Yep.
So so I'm independent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you part time so that you can spend more time with the family, or are you going back to doing another job as well?
Yeah, because I'm a glutton for punishment. I work full time as well. Yeah. So I work full time and part time in the business. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to keep you really busy.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't know how the 70-hour weeks work. Sometimes there's not much longevity in it, but for the minute, we have to do what we have to do. Yeah, it's funny though because that's the reason why I left working for someone is
Yeah,
to
so
have a bit more quality time at home, and now here I am full circle again.
we all go through seasons in life, so I guess you do that while you're managing it, and then when you decide you don't want to be doing 70 hours a week, then you cut it back again.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I mean, look, I don't have a very good work-life balance at the minute. However, I find that I really enjoy my work, both
Yeah.
both my employed work and my personal self-employed work.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm in a good space myself personally,
Yeah.
and I do find enough time, believe it or not, to run a household as well with my partner and get kids to and from school and sports and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. I think that work life balance, if you're getting fulfillment from both careers as well as the time you spend at home, then the only negative aspect is that you're putting yourself under a lot of stress, whether it's emotional, physical, or whatever type of stress it is. That's that'll catch up with you eventually. But
yeah, agreed. Yeah,
the fulfillment will overcome that for a while.
totally. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a bit more about your lawn care business in terms of part time. How many hours a week are you spending cutting grass and doing gardening?
Well, my current work pattern through my employer, I work 3 weeks of day shift, which is essentially 6 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon,
Okay.
and then I'll do a week of afternoon shift, which is 2 in the afternoon till 10 at night. So my work schedule around that changes from those day shift weeks to the afternoon shift weeks. So I'll probably get in 3 hours worth of mowing after work, and I'll pretty much do half a day in the morning before I go to my afternoon shift as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So I structure my schedule around all of that. Works quite effectively for me. I can get probably 3 or 4 lawns, sometimes 5 lawns done in an afternoon, depending on size, of course. And then I choose to do all my bigger jobs on the 1 week a month where I'm on an afternoon shift.
Yeah, fair enough.
So this coming week actually is my afternoon shift week. I've got 3 lawn renos booked in for next week, and
nice.
plus a couple of me regular lawns are due that week. So it's a full week. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll test you physically. Your son going to the gym will be laughing at you doing lawn renos.
Yeah. Oh, if only he knew. If only he knew.
Yes, that's pretty taxing on the body, especially doing that many in a row.
Yeah, I know, right? I've probably bitten off a little bit more than I could chew this week, but we'll see how I pull up on Friday at the end of my shift at 10 o'clock at night.
Perhaps I need to ask your partner how you fare at the end of the week.
yeah, maybe.
Lovely. So you do a mix between lawns and gardening or lawn renos throughout your time? I'm guessing
I do. Yeah, I mean, look, it's mainly lawn mowing. All of my regular clients are all just regular mowers, and I have selected them, I guess. I had that sort of luxury where I downsized to go part time. I could sort of pick and choose who I wanted to keep on, and a lot of them have got additional things that they need. So whether it be tree pruning or hedging or things like that, stuff that I was mindful of that I could use in the winter as a supplement when the lawn slowed down. So I was quite, I guess, strategic, with who stayed on and who didn't.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then on top of that, like I said, I do a little bit of real estate work, so they shoot me a bit of one-off gardening at the end of a lease, for example. Everyone loves those. It was only mowed last month. You turn up and the grass is waist high and everything's overgrown.
Yeah, and end of lease jobs, you either love them or you hate them because you can quote them right. You can make really good money for a short amount of time, or you might get there and go, there is no way I can make this look any good. It's just going to be terrible no matter what I do. All I'm doing is just totally destroying everything that's there to try and make the yard usable again.
Yeah, look, agreed. And a lot of the time when I do these end of lease jobs, they are proper overgrown messes. I look at what's his name? Here's the guy that does the Fremo Fridays.
Oh, Tim the lawn mowing.
Tim, yeah. I look at some of his stuff, and a lot of the stuff that he does is very similar to what I put myself through sometimes.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I've got a pretty good relationship with the couple of agents that I work with, and they understand when they see these lawns what they're like, because we've done a few of them, and there's no illusion as to this is not going to be a pretty backyard when we're finished.
Yeah, I know I lost one real estate agent years and years ago over that exact issue. It was actually a property coming up for sale, but it was overgrown and messy, and they just were not happy. There was nothing I could do to make them happy. It's like, you know what I was working with. The grass was 3 foot tall.
Yeah. I think it's an education sometimes, like when I first started working with one of these agents that I do work for, she was the same. She didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Grass needs the light to look green. So if the grass is buried under a foot of itself, then it's not going to be green when you cut it. So it took a little bit of education, and I guess that's probably where I've benefited, being in the corporate environment and the retail environment. Communications are a big factor in how successful you can be, and expectation, I guess, around the work that you do.
Yeah, and I've had to learn a lot of valuable lessons like that along the way myself, particularly losing a real estate agent and going, okay, there was nothing I could do to make them happy, but if I had gone into that job with the foresight that they weren't going to be happy, I could have helped them with their expectations as to what I'm quoting on. This is what you're getting for what the quote is.
Yeah, possibly. So I mean,
better understood that.
Yeah, exactly right. And I guess it's a bit of trial and error too. I mean, I've done it before where I've gone into a job saying, all right, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, but haven't explained fully what the outcome's going to be, whether or not they're expecting it to be pristine when it's finished, or whether it's going to need a few services post the initial one to get it looking reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I often started quoting real estates for end of lease and for sale properties where they were overgrown and saying, okay, this is not a once-off service. You need me to come in and cut the tall grass short, and then you need me to come back and do another 3 services on this property before it's going to look half decent for you to put it up for sale or rent.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of the time I found too, it's sort of last minute, believe it or not, even though I guess the agent knows the property's coming up for sale, a couple of months in advance. If they got you involved straight away, you have that opportunity to try and make it close to reasonable, I guess, by the time it goes on the market. Whereas I have found in the past, like it's always, oh, can you get it done next week because it's going on the market the following weekend? It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and agents are terrible for that. They're like, oh, I need to take photos on Monday. Can you do it on Sunday? And it's like, I don't work weekends, but even if I did, that's not going to look good for your photos.
No, that's right. Although you could charge a little bit extra, couldn't you, for that?
There have been times where I've charged extra to do work on a Sunday, but that's still, it's a case of when they want it done last minute, it's like, you're not going to get what you're expecting.
No, exactly right. And it never ends well, I feel, if it's that situation. I've done a few of them, and you're always fighting to get your invoice paid, or someone's not happy, I think, in all those instances.
Yeah, that's the reality, is that customers have crazy expectations sometimes, and not going to meet those expectations.
No.
If you can educate them before you start the job so that they know what they're accepting, then you might get there.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so you work with a couple of real estate agents like that, and then you've got your regular customers. So the lawn renos that you're doing, are they coming from your regular customers?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I've got an old lady actually who I mow regularly, and she's through one of those aged care providers, and she recently had a dirty great big gum tree come down in the backyard actually. So yeah, the arborists came in and took it away, all hunky dory, but chewed up the back grass.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the old love had a fall because she likes to get out in the garden, so she
Yeah.
bit uneasy underfoot, with all the rut marks left behind. So
Yeah.
it was approved through her provider. So that's one of the ones I'm doing, and the other one as well is a regular client who this will be the second reno I've done for him. I did a
Yeah.
reno early on in my business with him, and he just likes to have his lawn nice and flat and green, and
Yeah.
everyone's happy. So
that's interesting because that first one, it's not about making a perfect lawn. It's just about returning it back to
yes,
something that's usable so that it's not a trip hazard and
exactly.
terrible.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. And it's good for her because I mean, I think she's in her mid-80s now. And the fact that she's quite active in the garden, she's got a beautiful cottage style garden, and it's unfortunate that she can't access to certain spots that she used to at the moment because she just can't walk on it. So
Yeah.
we'll get that sorted.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you do any commercial premises or any larger industrial type work?
Oh no, not really. To be honest, I used to. I used to have a row of retail shops which had a garden and um, nature strip out the front. When I was full time in my business, I used to do a lot of unit blocks as well through real estate.
Yeah. Okay.
But there just wasn't any time in the schedule for that at the minute.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing part time.
Yeah, that's it.
So
I've got about 20, 25 clients on
yeah.
the books now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they're
And
all
what do they look like? Because I'm guessing, are they in Wollongong? Are they all in town, or are they sort of?
they are. So they're all except for two of them are within, let's call it a 10-minute drive from my house.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I live in Port Kembla in Wollongong,
Okay.
and basically 90% of them are in the surrounding suburbs, and then the two that are not are about a 15-minute drive away, and I do them on the same day after work. So that fills one afternoon, and if I'm back home early enough, I generally do them on a Friday because they're bin days on a Monday.
Yeah.
And if I get home early enough on a Friday, I'll service the gear.
I'm guessing from what you've told me already that you're running residential jobs with a push or self-propelled mower. You using a ride-on or a stander?
I do have a ride-on as well, yeah. So I run a 42-inch Cub Cadet.
Yeah, okay.
It's only a semi-pro residential unit. It was given to me by my father-in-law, which was nice of him. I was quite happy about that.
Yeah.
So they had 5 acres down in the Southern Highlands before they moved to Wollongong, and they downsized. So they said, "Oh, here you go.
Yeah.
Use it
Nice.
use it till you don't need it anymore, and then if you sell it, give me the money for it." So look, it does the job. It's a great machine. I haven't had any problems with it. I service it all quite regularly. I do it all myself because I'm pretty good that way, I think.
Is that a tractor with steering wheel or a zero turn?
No, it's a zero turn. Yeah,
It is zero turn.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's the RZTL 42-inch. It's got a Kohler engine on it, 22 horsepower.
It's pretty decent machine.
It is, yeah. And I use it on I've got probably 4 lawns that I use it regularly on.
Yeah, okay. Nice.
Good access, flat. One of them's got a little bit of a hill on it, which I can handle with it. And if I was to push mow it, I mean, it'd take probably 3 times as long.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
I've told people, because I've had 42-inch mowers for most of my career, and I would do anything from a roadside verge, but typically properties where the property size is above 500 or 600 square meters, I'd be going, okay, can I get the zero turn on there instead of doing it with the push mower?
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. I use a zero turn any opportunity I can. Unless of course the customer wants it, looking immaculate at the end, because it's never going to be immaculate with the zero turn. I don't have a catcher on it or anything like that. It's a pure side throw. It's got gator blades on it for mulching, and it does a really good job on the maintain stuff. Like A
Yeah.
lot of the stuff, a lot of my fortnightlies, I'll use it on the nature strip out the front or the front yard, and it turns the clippings into powder. You can't see them,
Yeah.
so it's pretty good. And it's handy too when I get the odd call for an overgrown one,
Yeah.
and
That's
I
it.
can fit it in. I'll use it every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always aimed to do immaculate lawns with the zero turn as well. So you can get them good, but I think the difference is what you said. If you don't have a catcher with it, that's going to make a difference for some customers where they need it to be caught.
Yeah.
And B, also the footprint size of the mower makes a difference in terms of how good the quality is. If you've got a smaller deck, say your 21-inch Honda or whatever you might be using, typically speaking, is going to follow the ground closer than a 42-inch machine. So you can get a lower cut height or a more consistent cut height with the smaller machine.
Yeah, exactly. And look, again, I'm not running a Walker or a Hustler
Yeah.
or any of the commercial machines, so I'm not expecting it to perform that way either. So
Yeah.
I'm realistic with what my equipment can and can't do. And again, you can't sell it to the customer and say, is this what you want? I guess, again, communication is what it comes down to. So if the customer tells you, yeah, I want it looking good and tidy and I want it caught every time or whatever it might be, then you quote accordingly. Simple as that.
That's right.
And if it's on a new quote, I'll give them the option.
Yeah.
If I can get the zero turn on the property, I said, well, look, if I can get my machine which does this, and this, it'll cost you this much. But if you want it caught and you want it push mode, it's going to cost you this much.
Yeah. And that's the best way to give customers transparency and give them multiple price points that they can choose from. So they're then choosing based on the quality that they want.
Yeah, that's it. And I've had customers too that have changed their mind, over time. They started off with the zero turn and, they might have a dog out the back or the kids, roll around on the grass and the clippings end up inside and they don't really want it anymore. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest one. If the dog or the kids are wandering in and out of the house across the grass, that's where you notice if there's clippings that they end up in the house.
So, yep. Yeah. So, and outside of the ride-on, I use Ego products exclusively. Had them now for 18 months now, I think, thereabouts. So, I run the Select Cut.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have a petrol push mower, but you run a Select Cut?
Well, you know what I do? I've got a Honda utility mower, which I use for the overgrown stuff and for the renovations where...
Yeah, whenever you can't use a zero turn to get on the overgrown stuff, use the Honda.
Exactly, yeah. So that does a good job. So that's just a Honda 21-inch side throw with the GXV 160 on it. And then Select Cut Ego, and then I just run the Ego multi-tool with all the attachments on it. Edger, Whippy, Hedger.
I just did an interview with Thomas Hansen in Queensland. He is running all Ego gear, so he's got the Ego zero turn as well as the Select Cut, as well as all the bits and pieces.
Yeah, a little bit jealous there, but well.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I think using a battery powered zero turn, which is rated to do 1 to 2 acres, it's only going to suit a fairly small demographic. And like you, if you're doing 4 of your customers with your zero turn, you could probably get away with something like that and go, okay, it'll do as much work as you need it to do.
Correct, yeah. But again, is it worth that investment for just those 4 customers, over time?
Yeah. And that's a challenging one because on the one hand, you might go, no, there's no way you can justify spending, I think it's close to $10,000 for that zero turn.
About that, yeah.
But on the other hand, if you were setting up your business from scratch right now, that means you've got more batteries and better chargers because the zero turn comes with 4 batteries and a charger that charges the zero turn rather quickly.
Yes.
And Thomas went and bought the battery fridge, or Esky, I think he calls it. So that charges as well. So he can charge, I think, he's 12 batteries at once.
Yeah, I think you said that. 12 batteries at once. That's insane, eh?
Yeah. So from that point of view, it makes time and money wise, it's a very efficient system to use.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. And look, if I was starting, I'd be seriously considering that full setup. Definitely.
Yeah.
And, in saying that too now, I mean, you look at other options too, like Greenworks have got a really good sort of battery setup at the moment where, you've got the stander, you've got 30-inch self-propelled. It's
I had a chat to Gary, Greenworks Gary, he calls himself.
Yeah,
had a chat to him up at BJ's event and, try and line up a bit of a demo and test out some of those tools soon.
Yeah, I mean, they're very impressive. We had a new mower shop open down here in Wollongong a month or two ago.
Yeah,
and they're a Greenworks dealer as well, and they had a demo stander there as well, which was very impressive. And I've never driven a stander before. It's a different beast to the zero turn, but it's good fun. Yeah,
it's interesting. Most of the battery powered standers, sit downs, whatever they might be, the battery powered ones are just not quite as smooth as the petrol machines. And I put it down to the fact that when you're running a hydraulic drive with the petrol machines, the hydraulics smooth things out a little bit, and you've got that direct hydraulic feel when you're pushing on the levers. So you get that direct correlation between what you're moving with your hands and the amount the mower moves. Whereas with
it's a mechanical connection, isn't it, as opposed to a drive-by-wire, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the electrical ones will be able to improve that over time, but they've done their best to assimilate that type of feel. And I've used a couple. I think the Gravely was the best one I've used so far.
Okay.
It felt pretty decent.
Yeah, nice.
But I haven't used the Greenworks yet. So if Gary's listening to me, send me the Greenworks for a test.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our dealers offered some test days as well, which is just very, very kind of them. Yeah, there's a couple of us down here in Wollongong that are keen to test it out. So might be on the cards, yeah.
It'd be worth doing.
Absolutely.
Looking at what you're doing, though, if you go from your Cub Cadet to a battery-powered stander, you're probably talking a 32-inch, I think. Did they have a 48 was the next size?
I think 48 is the next size for Greenworks. But, yeah, if I was to come off the Cub Cadet, I'd probably consider the 32.
Yeah, it would do more jobs for you.
It would. Yeah, it would definitely do a lot more jobs. It'd probably do 95% of my jobs.
And the customers may not agree, which is ultimately you got to keep the customers happy, but chances are with a 32-inch machine, the cut quality with a catcher on the side of it is probably going to match most of those jobs.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Look, I out of all my customers, I think I might have half a dozen that are very particular about their lawns. So I think with a commercial graded machine, mulching would be almost as equivalent as to what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So you could possibly even get away with mulching a lot of my lawns. Yeah. So it's a big consideration.
Yeah. Look, I find if they don't need the lawn to be caught, you go off those principles we talked about before, if they don't have kids and dogs and pets running on the lawn and then coming inside, if you've got a good mulching machine, the quality of finish is as good. And I know that's going to stir up some hate, but
let's not have that debate. Come on.
No, we don't need that. So the reality is, I can show you my backyard where the robot mulches the grass, and because it's cutting every day, it looks better than you'll ever get from a court lawn with a 21-inch machine. It hands down, it looks 10 times better.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, if you sat there and push mowed it every day, it'd probably look just as good as well.
Yeah, well, I was doing it with a cylinder mower before I bought the robotic mower. And the cylinder mower, I had to cut it 2 to 3 times a week to be able to make it look decent with a cylinder mower. So the difference between using the rotary mower and going to cylinder, I had to cut my lawn that much more just to make it look really decent. It did look decent, but it looks better with the robot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and all the cylinder haters over in WA, they're going to say, well, you didn't have a good cylinder mower. Yes, I did not have a Mowmaster.
Yeah, no, that's right. Eh? Not everyone can have a Mowmaster, eh?
Yeah.
Or a Scott Bonner.
Yeah. So, horses for courses. I'm not claiming to be a cylinder expert.
No.
But it's interesting, isn't it? You look at the difference and you're okay, 95% of your customers are going to be happy with the finish with a mulch cut, as long as you do it well. If you've got a good machine for mulching, and there are terrible mulch finishes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And look, you know what? Sometimes it's the machine, sometimes it's the conditions. You know, I think we
Sometimes
all
it's
have
a
to.
lazy operator.
Well, that too. Yeah, yeah.
We have some
Of course.
cowboys.
Yeah. No, we don't. Silly. Far out.
But yeah, I've done it plenty of times myself where I've done the mulch job and I've gone, oh, that looks terrible. And typically speaking, if you're talking the last 2 seasons we had where the grass was growing a foot a day,
Yeah.
you go and mulch that and you're going to have clippings left over. It's going to
Agreed.
form windrows and clumps and all those nasty things that mulching is hated for.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in that too. You know, like I've got customers that I mulch as well, and you look at it sometimes. You know, you might have, you know, I've taken a week off here and there, and I'm a week behind in the schedule, so it's been 3 weeks instead of 2. And you mulch it, and you think, yeah, I just can't leave it like that. So you just skim
Yeah.
over the top. You put the mower on a high setting. You take a catcher's worth of clippings off it, and see you later.
Yeah. And that's it. 9 times out of 10, you can fix it by going over it again with even just with the mulch plug-in. Go over it on a higher setting with the mulch plug-in. It spreads the clippings more evenly. Or like you say, put the catcher on and take a catcher load off, and it makes it look infinitely better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, we've touched on the mulching versus catching, even though we tried not to.
Yes, that's it. You steered that in that direction, Gary, not me.
Yeah, I'll take that. I don't mind. I'm hoping Benny and BJ listen to this so they get stirred up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So at the moment, you said you got about 20, 25 customers.
Yeah.
And we've gone through that equipment. So just go back to the Ego equipment you're using at the moment. You did say, but I was trying to steer the conversation somewhere else. So come back to it.
Yeah.
You said use the select cut and the multi-tool.
Yeah, so I run the multi-tool head with Whippy. So regularly I use the Whippy and the edger attachment on it.
Yeah.
I've also got the pole saw and the hedger and the rotor cut scissors as well.
Yeah, okay. Nice.
So, yeah, the rotor cuts are very good. I do find them a little bit sort of end heavy.
Yeah.
So I don't use them all the time, but there's a couple of clients that I use them for who have, you know, got those really lush green lawns that they like to have a nice edge on.
Yeah.
And I use it for renos as well, just to cut those areas down really low where the mower can't get onto.
Okay, yep, fair.
Yeah. Very handy.
Do you have any other Ego tools that are not part of the multi-tool setup?
Oh, yeah. So I've got the chainsaw as well.
Yep. And blower, I guess.
Can't remember what it is, 45 centimetre chainsaw. Yeah, 45.
Yeah, okay. Sounds about right.
Yeah, 1,300 cubic metre blower, handheld.
Yep.
And the handheld hedger as well.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, so essentially just about every tool that you need for an all-round gardening. Yeah. All very handy pieces of kit, you know, and I'm really impressed with the chainsaw, actually, to be honest. It's very handy. I had a client a couple of seasons ago where this dirty great big gum tree came down in their backyard, and like some of these trunks were about 30, 35 centimetres in diameter and straight through like butter. I couldn't believe it.
Nice.
You know, it was good fun to use, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, a good battery-powered chainsaw is so much easier and nicer to use than a petrol chainsaw.
Yeah, oh, totally, yeah. On the flip side, though, and I think, you know, I'd like to, I don't know, call it a public service announcement, I guess, a little bit, but I find myself, and I think others might agree with me on this one, I find that the dangers of a chainsaw aren't as, I guess, obvious with battery gear. You know, you don't have that roar of the engine right next to you when you're cutting, and you know, like a chainsaw is a really dangerous beast if you're not careful. You know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I find I get a little complacent sometimes in the safety aspect of things using the battery gear.
I have found that once myself, but coming from using predominantly petrol chainsaws, I tend to push the other way and say the battery ones are safer in every way. But that is true in the sense that you can become complacent because they're so easy to use.
Yeah,
and
that's
quiet.
Right. Yeah, and quiet. Yeah, that danger, I guess, isn't as obvious. You know, like I was recently privy to an image, I guess, that was throwing around a local group of ours of not a contractor, but a homeowner who had a Makita chainsaw, just a little 30 centimetre jobby, and unfortunately did some pretty nasty damage to himself as a result.
Yeah.
So,
is he still alive?
Oh yeah. But unfortunately, some permanent damage.
Yeah. I've shared on LMCA and the other Facebook groups before about the damage I've done from using a saw, and I like using a top-handled chainsaw. So I've had, believe it or not, an Ozito top-handled chainsaw. I've had a Stihl top-handled chainsaw, and I've gone to a battery-powered top-handled chainsaw, which is, I think it's safer machine than the other ones. But I cut myself with the Ozito chainsaw, and it was only idling at the time, but it left a significant scar on my finger, and I'm really lucky it was only idling. Otherwise, the finger wouldn't be there, I'm sure.
Wow. That's Look, I think I don't know what it is. Like, a lot of people, say, "Oh, you're just a lawnmower guy, or you're just a gardener, or stuff like that." But I think our industry has got a lot of hidden, safety aspects that a lot of people don't factor in, don't think about. I mean, how many times have you thrown your hand to clear the catcher or the chute, while it's still moving, and you think to yourself, "Oh, that was a silly idea."
Yeah, having a blade brake or a battery-powered mower just makes that safer all round, doesn't it? But the risks that we deal with on a daily basis, like having your boot go under the edge of a mower deck or something like that, there's just so many little things which can happen without thinking about it.
Yeah, totally. And 99 times out of 100, nothing will happen, eh?
Yeah. But unfortunately, we know too many stories in LMCA of people who have stuck their fingers under the mower deck, or got their fingers caught in the blades when they were clearing the mulch out of the back, or the chainsaw injury.
Yeah, exactly.
And my favourite, the hedge trimmer.
Oh yeah. Geez, that can do some damage, I suppose, too, if you're not careful, eh?
It's like a scalpel when the hedge trimmer hits somebody. It's not like a chainsaw, which just shreds everything.
No.
Turns it into shredded chicken.
Yeah.
But the hedge trimmer just slices it.
Yeah, that's it. Pinches it and nips it off.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough blood and gore, I think.
Look, we need to do it. We need to talk about it more, get people thinking about being safer.
No, agreed, mate. Agreed.
I know for me with the chainsaw injury, I had all the training and I knew what to do, and then I broke every rule in the book and paid for it.
So, fair enough.
Yeah. People need to think about that and go, okay, we need to be safe. I've found even last week or the week before, I picked up my battery-powered chainsaw, and I realised I was being a little bit complacent because it's top-handle saw. I'm just letting my other hand get close to that blade, and it's like, nope, that's not okay. Don't do that. And
Yep. No, that's it.
I want to give you an update on the Ego Commercial Pole Hedges. The short pole hedger has a fixed head which makes it a lot like a standard handheld hedger, quite nimble and great for shaping small hedges and topiary. The standard pole hedger has the articulating head that I thought I might be able to swap onto the small short pole hedger. I've had a closer look and I found the mounting screws do not line up to allow this. Even if you took the liberty to modify the mounting, the articulating lever would catch on the handhold, so it really is not possible, sorry. Overall, both these hedges do a great job on hedges, and I have found the blade speed, the shaft drive rather than direct drive, and the run time all make for a great commercial package. They are replacing my previous hedges, and they are the best I have used. So when you started, did your friend from the Gyms franchise help you work out what you needed to charge, or work through your finances running a business?
No, look, not so much. I think I was pretty solid in that respect.
You had a good background with financial.
Yeah. Like I was an account manager for IGA for quite some time.
Yeah, okay.
So that sort of background, business acumen and knowing how to read a P&L and things like that, I was pretty confident in how to set budgets, etc. I guess I did learn on the run with him what to charge. Like, he could see, because he was very transparent with his business. Like, he was, because we're buddies, of course. Like, he wanted
Yeah.
me to succeed, of course. And so I knew what he was charging his customers and how much he was paying me and what he was taking for himself.
So you didn't start with $25 jobs like I did.
No, no, thankfully.
I only had two $25 jobs, but back in 2010, $25
Yeah, yeah.
was still laughable.
That was, well, yeah, just, I suppose. But look, yeah, I think I charge accordingly. Like I do keep track of how long it takes me to do a job. I'm a big believer in, your cost per hour, I guess. Your earning per hour and route density, of course. Like
Yep.
when I first started full time, I was very mindful of not spending all day in the car. I know there are obviously other guys that further regional areas that might have to travel an hour for their first job.
Yep.
I know my mate who works out of the Southern Highlands at the moment. He'll drive 45 minutes to a pocket, but while he's driven out there, he's got his 10 clients in that particular area, so he'll spend the day out there and then drive home. So I feel that sort of route density is also appropriate.
Yeah.
And look, I do it too. Like I'll have a 15-minute drive to a pocket of customers that I can do in an afternoon.
Yeah.
But
and look, I've done that with my business. When I started, it was 10 minutes from home, 15 minutes from home. It was the most I would drive to do a job.
Yeah.
And all of my jobs were, 2 minutes apart from each other.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
But then I realised after a while, I was like, okay, if I travel 45 minutes to do a job, but I spend the whole day there, that's worth it.
Mm. Yeah, that's also correct. Yeah, like if you have the luxury of having a full day job or a couple of half days, however you minimise your travel time is beneficial.
Yep. And if you look at a full day, and I'm not sure you're doing mostly half days at the moment, but if you take a full day where you spend 10 minutes traveling in between each job, that's probably an hour of your time that you've spent traveling in between jobs plus traveling from home and back to home again.
Yeah, correct.
And then you probably take another half hour out for your lunch break or fuel stops, whatever.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, look, I was tracking it heavily when I was full-time in my business, and most days, the most I'd spend driving would be 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was doing 10, 12 lawns a day.
That's pretty efficient route density then.
Yeah. Most of my service area originally was in the 3 or 4 suburbs surrounding where I live, and a pocket sort of 15, 20 minutes away, and you spend the day in that pocket and come home. And as long as you manage those clients, I guess, to sit the same day, then happy days.
With a tight route density like that, do you use a ute and a trailer?
I do, yes. Yeah. Well, I use a van and a trailer.
Van, yep. Okay, yep. So do you find yourself leaving the trailer behind when you can so that it's easier?
Well, no, not so much. I mean, having 4 kids, I need the van purely for the people moving capabilities.
Okay,
so I don't have a commercial van as such where I can stash me mower. I have done it before. I have put the back seats down and thrown the ego and all the gear in the back of the van, and off I go.
But your partner wouldn't appreciate the grass all through the van, I'm guessing.
Look, you know what? The grass gets through the van anyway. So every time you're in and out with your green legs,
Yeah, that's it.
So
it's
look, unfortunately, it is a workhorse as well. But
yeah,
she doesn't get the attention she deserves. The poor Kia Carnival.
Well, like you said, it's a workhorse.
Yeah, that's it.
There's both purposes.
Yeah, exactly. So I do run car and trailer. So that I run a 7x5 trailer with a mower box on the front. The 42-inch sits nice and neatly in the back of it, and off I go.
No, it's good.
Yeah, but and I do have a couple of clients in the CBD that I find tricky, but
okay.
Look, one of them's a commercial office space, out of a home, I guess, in the CBD, that has to be done either before or after hours. So generally, if I get there early enough, there's enough parking for the car and trailer, or if I go there late enough, same again. So I either mow it first thing in the morning or late in the afternoon.
It makes it easier, I guess.
Yeah.
But means you've got to schedule that job specifically above the others in the schedule.
It does, yeah. I generally sort of prioritise that, so I make sure, if I'm on an afternoon shift cycle that fortnight, I generally get out there and mow it at 6:30 in the morning and be done by 7:30 and back home to take the kids to school and resume the day after that.
Yeah.
So a lot of juggling in the schedule.
Coming from train schedules to lawn schedules, did you look at the spreadsheet for the lawn schedules, or did you go, I want software that rivals the train?
Oh, look, I often considered doing scheduling software and going down that path, but I think for me, I don't know if it'd benefit me as such from a cost perspective. Like, it is another cost on the business that I really can't justify. Like, if I was full time still in my business, and I may consider it.
Yeah.
But I find, like, I use technology quite a lot. I run a program called Asana, which is free, believe it or not, and it does a tremendous job for me of keeping track of my schedule and when clients are due next.
Okay.
I run a spreadsheet as well, just with all my clients on it and how much I've earned from them through the year.
Yeah.
And Xero does that as well for me.
Yep.
I haven't spent as much time with Xero to unlock all the features and discover what powers it might have reporting wise. I'll leave that to my accountant.
Yep. Fair.
But yeah, look, I'll be the first to admit, 50-50 cash and invoice for my business. With residential lawns, a lot of them are cash jobs. So even though it's something that sits in the pocket, I like to keep track of it and know where it's coming, where it's going.
I think most people doing residential jobs would be somewhere similar in terms of that breakdown. It's 50-50 between people that give you cash and people that want to pay via direct transfer.
That's right.
Or a check still sometimes.
Oh, good Lord, yeah. I'll tell you what, I was glad I got rid of my one and only check customer 18 months ago. Far out.
Yeah. When I was doing a lot of residential jobs, I would have that 50-50 split between cash and bank transfer. And I found there were customers who insisted on paying cash because that's how they work. And there were customers that insisted they wouldn't handle cash. So one of the best things I found, aside from scheduling software, which I never implemented myself doing residential jobs, and now looking at it, I'm like, I think scheduling software would have saved me money. But having a Square credit card reader was just a lifesaver, because customers that make excuses, no, you don't have an excuse. You pay here or you're not a customer.
Yeah. No, agreed. I think I'm probably going to go down that path myself shortly. I don't think I have a need for it, but I have had a couple of experiences over the last 12 months where, customers are either forgetful or whatever it might be. I mean, one particular customer, I'm only mowed him maybe half a dozen times, and skipped out on 4 invoices now. So whereas I feel that if I had the Square reader, then here you go, tap away. There's no excuse.
Yeah, I've found that particularly when you start out, if you're lacking confidence, they're more likely to take advantage of you. Most people are good-natured and well-meaning, but there's a number of customers out there who will take you for a ride in the sense that they avoid it. That's not that they're intentionally trying to ruin you, but at the same time, it's kind of looking at it, it's kind of like that's a pretty dishonest way of dealing with a small business.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this particular lady, I've actually gone down the path of what do you call it? Debt recovery. Yeah. With her, just out of principle, because I feel that she was being quite deceptive and deceiving in her actions. So And she lives down the road from me. So I drive past the house all the time, and I know they haven't actually got another contractor. They know it themselves now, but there's never an opportunity to go knock on the door because they've got a front gate that they always keep closed, and you don't want to go down that path of trespassing and sticking a letter under the door and stuff like that. So I thought, you know what, I'll just go to the debt collector, and they don't charge me anything unless they get the money back. So.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody just yesterday about this issue, about the number of contractors that are willing to use some underhanded tactics to make their point, leaving grass clippings at their front door or on their driveway, or other green waste, or dog poo, or
no, that's right,
glyphosate the lawn. Or
yeah, that's right. Look, let's face it. The thought has crossed my mind many times, but
and I think the thought crosses most people's minds, but whether you act on it or not's another story.
No, exactly. Yeah, the temptation's always there, isn't it? Just to be that spiteful one. But look, you know what? You may or may not get away with it, or whether you call it getting away with it or not. But with the internet being the way it is, I think more harm can come out of it through either poor reviews or whatever else might come your way online. So is it worth it? Probably not.
Well, ultimately, the customer has a bad reputation. Do you want a bad reputation as well? Because you've got a lot more to lose than they do.
That's it. Yeah, exactly right.
So, I look at it from that point of view. I'm like, there's been times where it's really tempting, but no, I haven't done it.
Yeah.
So, the other one that I had a really negative experience with, and it wasn't a bad customer, it was a bad situation. The property was vacant property, and the owner of the property was really elderly, and their daughter was the person communicating with me. So she asked me to quote on the property, asked me to take care of a job, and initially it was a massive cleanup and then a regular maintenance. And because it's a vacant block, it's not like you're going in there with a catcher or a cylinder mower. It was literally cut it on the highest setting on the zero turn and walk away.
Yeah.
That's the maintenance after it had been cleaned up. But because the mother, the owner of the property, was so old, the daughter had to arrange the payment. And she didn't, I think she had power of attorney, but she couldn't do a bank transfer. And so I said, well, I don't want a check. So can you go to the bank and transfer the money when you go to the branch? Go and transfer the money across to my bank account. Here's bank details. And she did that. And it cost her, and I don't mind shaming the bank here, it was the Commonwealth Bank. They charged her an international transfer fee of $40 to transfer money from the Commonwealth Bank to my bank. And then my bank, because it came through as an international transfer, my bank then charged me a fee for the international transfer as well.
What? That's
so
ridiculous.
I went back to the lady afterwards and I said, look, I'm really sorry about this. I don't accept checks, but in this instance, because you want to keep using me to do the maintenance, do it by check. It's the only customer I would ever accept that from.
Yeah, wow. They got a lot to answer for, don't they?
Hopefully they're improving. That's a little while ago, but hopefully they hear the messages from their customers and take feedback. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But my one and only check customer was a Strata, believe it or not.
Yeah.
How Stratas operate on checks these days is beyond me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, most commercial or industrial places these days will do bank transfer.
Yeah, that's right. Or, they'll schedule a payment through their own accounting software.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, some people just aren't blessed with technology sometimes, I guess.
Yeah. Well, either that or they refuse to deal with it.
Yeah, one or the other.
But going back over that 3 years, when you started with jobs where your friend had given you a good indication of pricing and what he was charging, did you look at that afterwards and go, yeah, I think that's pretty good? Or did you look at it and go, oh, I need to change that? Or just in the course of those 3 years go, all right, I need to bump it up by 5% here, 10% there?
Yeah, I guess it was a good starting block. And a lot of those customers that I retained stayed on that price point for 12 months because I thought it was quite fair. I was making a good living at the time. You pay the mortgage at home, you put food on the table, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
I felt that he had a couple of clients that were overcharged, to be honest. And one of those original clients is still a customer of mine. I haven't put his price up in 3 years.
Yeah.
It takes me 25 minutes to mow his lawn with the zero turn.
Yeah.
I charge him $100. It's been $100 for the last 3 years. He's a pensioner. I feel that, I guess, I have also a bit of a philanthropic duty as such.
Yeah.
To help out people that aren't as fortunate. So
yeah, fair.
I reckon I've got probably half a dozen clients that are elderly or doing it tough or whatever the situation might be, and I mow their lawns for well below what I'd like to charge per hour. You know? So whatever, it makes them happy, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
Going back to your point, I guess. In the end, I made my own business decision after a little while as to where I need to be as a charging perspective. And I still track my customers to see, how long does it take me? What do I need to earn in the time that I work to pay the bills for the business?
Yeah.
I go from there basically. I mean, I think I average it out. I did the exercise a couple of months ago. I think I average out at about 130 an hour, billable hours.
Yeah, that's pretty good for today. I think that's you find most people today will vary between 60 as low as that per hour. Some people are lower, but I think 60 is probably the lowest point that most people will admit, and then up to sort of that 130, 150 per hour.
Yeah.
But then you always get that skew where people report, I did a 15-minute job for $100, so I'm doing, $400 an hour. Yeah.
Oh, look, I'll put my hand up. I think I put a post up recently on LMCA that attracted a little bit of attention. I've got a client that I charge $165 a month.
Yeah.
And that's, look, sometimes it takes me 20 minutes, sometimes it takes me 45.
Yep.
Again, it's a vacant property. They don't live there. No one lives there. It's just keep the grass under control. Yeah. And for that $165, sometimes I'll sit there and lop a tree branch that gets in my way on the zero turn, or I'll glypho the edges so I don't have to sit there and whippy for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're happy with that service, and as long as they're happy, I'm happy.
That's right. If they see that they're getting good value for money, then that's good.
That's it. It's one less thing they have to worry about. They don't live in the area. They don't want to have to travel to mow or check out the property. Like I'll report back to them every time I mow. I'll say, everything's in order. Nothing looks untoward, mate. Or they might have had a tree branch come down in a storm. I'll let them know when I'm there, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, can you take care of it?" And I'll take care of it, and I'll charge them an extra $50-$60 for the 10-15 minutes it takes me to chop it up and put it in the trailer, whatever.
Fair.
So as much as I feel that some jobs I do very well at as a per hour rate, I do think that I give back in kind. With just a little bits and pieces that I do for the homeowner.
Yeah. And I've looked at it from a similar point of view over time. I've always tried to make sure I'm giving back somewhere. So some customers or people who wouldn't be customers, so I'm like, they genuinely are in need, so work out how to help them. But other times it's just a case of looking at individual jobs case by case and going, do I feel that they are being charged fairly? And what I mean by fair is that I'm being fair to them, but also that they're comparable to the other jobs that I do. But then I also like to look at it from the other principles we talk about in terms of how much do I charge them above the labour rate for the time it takes to do the job, and then factor in expenses or job costs. So if you're supplying product as well for the jobs, then that's extra. But then I like to break it down into what are they worth as an hourly rate? What do I get doing those jobs for a whole day? Because that factors in the unbillable time, travel and maintenance and all those sorts of things. What do I want to achieve for a whole week? What do I want to achieve per month and for a whole year? And then does that job fit well with that? Or is it either one of those charitable jobs, philanthropic jobs, or is it something I need to drop?
Yeah, no, exactly right. Recently I had probably a similar scenario. A lovely client that I've had for a couple of years, and I felt about sort of 6 months ago, we were in the middle of winter, and I thought, coming into summer, I probably can't afford to have as many clients as I still have on my books.
Yep.
Because I wouldn't be able to service them all in a timely fashion over summer. And I really enjoyed doing that job. There were a lot of extras involved. It was in a nice suburb, beautiful property. But I felt that I had to pass it on. And luckily for us here in Wollongong, we've got a group of guys that we chat quite regularly to.
That's good.
So, I passed it on to a fellow contractor who's currently doing it and doing a really good job of it. And I'm still in touch with her, and she says he's fantastic, and everyone's happy. So, you know what? It's win-win,
I've had customers like that, which I've sent to another contractor, and then they've come back to me at some point because that contractor's stopped working or something else has happened. And I had customers which have come and gone several times, but also have the odd customer here and there where you go, this customer is good, they want to pay well, but they're a scheduling nightmare, like the one you're saying, which is in the city where you've got to do it before or after hours. And the odd person who's, got lots of extras, it's like, well, the extras are willing to be paid for, so they're really great. But it's a scheduling nightmare because you work on scheduling X amount of jobs per day, and then that customer says, I want extras done. Then all of a sudden you've got to clear your schedule and say goodbye to your other regular customers that day.
Yeah, look, true. And if I was full-time in my business at the moment, I probably would have that issue. I don't find it an issue at the moment because I feel that I've got quite a bit of flexibility in my customer base. I know guys that are out there that, on a Tuesday they'll know X, Y, and Z customer every fortnight, regardless of what the situation is. Whereas the customers that I have are a lot more fluid because I am, and I guess I don't know whether I've trained them that way or they're just the kind of customer that I've got.
Yeah.
But whilst I like to stick to a schedule as such, I think I have the benefit of being so close to all of my customers that I can put them on any day, really, and not have a blowout in travel time or, skip a scheduled service for somebody. Maybe I won't get, 23 cuts a year out of a regular, but I'll get 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Because, I'll have those big jobs that I take on from time to time, like the lawn renos and things like that, that'll push another regular customer back a day or two.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter because none of my customers care what day I turn up. I'll just throw them the text the night before and I'll say, I'll be there tomorrow to mow. And that's all they want.
Yep.
So that flexibility, I think, is key in my instance because I am part-time and I can schedule it around family commitments, work, as well as, customer requirements too.
I've found over time, and I'm not in this situation now, but over time I've found there was a group of customers all on the same street. So I'd try and line up a day where I just spend that day on one street. And that way I know it's a fairly high productivity day. And then other days I would go, okay, I've got an allowance for flexibility in my schedule on another day. And I think that works pretty well. But there are other people, contractors that I speak to where it's like, no, every day my fortnight is scheduled.
Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, I understand that we have to have that productivity in
Yep.
our industry to maintain our profitability.
Yeah.
Especially with residential lawns, I feel that, the guys that purely do contract work, industrial estates or commercial areas have that ability to, I guess, force the schedule as such around all of their other work.
Yeah.
So they have to spend Tuesday at this place because it's a full day,
Yeah.
So they'll have full
And that's
days
what I've
lined up.
done. I've had several instances where I've had large commercial contracts, and it's like, okay, every Monday I'm at the cemetery, and I don't. It's been years since I've done the cemetery, but that was the case, and the cemetery wanted to argue with me over it, and they're like, "What if we've got a funeral on?" And I'm like, "Well, if I change it to Tuesday, I'm not going to do it Tuesday next week. I come back to Monday, so the cemeteries are Monday."
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, when you're in that situation, how do you? I don't know how you'd work around it. I mean,
You've got to have some flexibility, but at the
yeah,
same time, if you move the cemetery because it's a whole day,
yeah,
and you do it on a Tuesday, then all of your Tuesday jobs that you had lined up are got to get pushed. And so, do you bring them forward to the Monday, or do you push them back and then just keep pushing them back? So
no,
that's why
that's
I
right.
store up. And
Yeah,
Mondays are for the cemetery.
yeah,
If it's too wet, or if there's a funeral on, then we work around that.
yeah, yeah. Look, and I think you have to. I mean, you'd like to think that you could structure your business as such that, say you had that contract, and you'd have to
Yeah,
have a similar contract, I guess, where they're not fussed which
yeah,
day you turn up.
yeah.
So say you do have to reschedule a full day job to another day. Have you got that other client that can then pull forward, instead of having to constantly push backwards and
I
lose
think
that schedule?
Paul Luck, he's got a lot to say on LMCA, so let's call him out. He made reference to some interesting numbers at various points in time, and I'm sure it's him that said that you should schedule and account for 1,000 hours a year. That's how much work you can do.
Okay.
And I think that's good because you do need to have an allowance for moving between jobs, rain days, and customers changing their mind, various different things that happen. 1,000 hours a year is a good goal to aim for. But I've got a commercial contract where I'm expected to be there or have an employee there 5 days a week, all year round.
Yeah, right.
And that's accounting for closer to 2,000 hours because that's what the expectation is. And the expectation doesn't say in writing in the contract you are expected to do 2,000 hours work. But when you look at the numbers, you go, you know what? There's a lot more than 1,000 hours when you've got somebody working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah, that's right. And then I guess say you have to miss a day, account of rain or whatever the situation might be. Do you then allocate two people the next day
Yeah,
if
essentially.
the workload is there, or
But it's just expected to manage it, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm in business.
Yeah.
I provide a service, and if I'm not the employee on the ground doing the work, then somebody else is.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if I want to take a week off, somebody else has got to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And if that's in your contract, then that's what you've got to manage. And that's why we're put in that position, I suppose. Like if you're a business owner and you're capable of taking on contracts like that,
Yep.
you would think that your capabilities would include managing the time there.
Exactly. And I mean, you can apply the same with residential jobs, right? If you've go from where you are at the moment, working part-time, to going, okay, I want to put on 3 teams of employees and have 6 employees running around in 3 vehicles doing a full schedule. Are you going to be happy with those employees doing 1,000 hours each per year where you're actually paying them for closer to 2,000 hours? Or do you go, okay, let's try and fill up their schedule, make sure that they are doing what they need to do. But in that, we've got to account for the fact that because they're working full time, that they're going to need some annual leave, they're going to need some sick leave, they're going to need all these other things. And I need a casual employee to fill in the gaps. Yeah,
agreed. I mean, look, retail experience for me has proven that, while you can roster, for instance, a team of people for 500 hours a week, that 500 hours does accrue holiday pay, does accrue sick leave. So out of those 500 hours, there might be 20 hours that you need to supplement at a different time account for all of that. So, do you fill your schedule right up so that they're productive every minute of the day, or do you have gaps in your schedule where you catch up on a rain day, or you catch up on maintenance, or I guess that's something that you need to factor into your business as to what you charge based on how your model works, eh?
And when you wind the system down from that scale and you're okay, instead of servicing a full-time commercial contract or having teams of people running around doing jobs, you scale back down to where you are one person working part-time, and you factor that into, this is how much work I can actually get done, stay on top of it and keep the customers happy, and still charge a rate that makes it worthwhile. So that means instead of aiming for 100% time on the job, you're aiming for somewhere between 50 and 80% of your time on the job.
That's right. Yeah, agreed. And I guess that's where you need to determine and have a plan on paper, really, as to what your expenses are. How do you run your business to be able to draw a decent income out of it?
Yeah.
So whether that is, I'm only going to book in 80% of my time, but as a result of that, do I need to increase my billable rate?
And that's why I like to use those different rates to work out whether I'm on the money or not. So if I send an employee out for an hour, I need to charge enough to pay them $30 for that hour. And I know it's anywhere between $25 and $35, even $45 an hour for an employee these days. Then I need to charge expenses and I need to make profit for sending an employee out instead of it being myself. If I'm just doing what you're doing, like, you probably can blur the lines a little bit between what's profit and what's wages.
Yeah,
but
true.
When you're paying an employee, you can't, because if you blur the line, then you don't make money.
Yeah, exactly. And there are times where I'll get a mate to come and help me out on the bigger jobs as well, right?
Yeah.
And I've done it on cash jobs. I've done it on invoicing jobs. And I mean, he's just happy with cash at the end of the day, so I'll pay him his $35 an hour because he's a mate.
Yeah.
But I'll still bill him out at the same rate that I bill myself out.
Yep.
Because I need to be profitable, and if I didn't have him, then the job would have taken twice as long.
Yeah.
So
I've been asked that plenty of times. How much do you bill out for your employee? And it's like exactly the same as I bill out for myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He can mow as good as me. He can push a wheelbarrow as good as me. He can spread mulch as good as me. Why would he not be charged the same?
There has been the odd occasion where I've gone, that employee's useless and they're not worth it. So, they don't hang around.
No, that's right. Yeah, and that's up to you as the business owner, isn't it, to manage that?
Yeah.
But yeah, from a client's perspective, there is absolutely no reason why I can't charge him out at the same rate as I charge myself.
Yep.
Different story, I guess, if you're a horticulturalist and you're doing a landscaping plan, or whatever the situation may be, where you've got a specialised field that you're charging for.
Yeah.
But yeah, from a labour perspective, no, I don't see a difference.
Yep.
Yeah, and you would do the same too if you had a permanent employee on the books.
Yeah.
Paying them super, paying for increased public liability insurance, paying for workers' comp, all of that stuff has to be factored into
definitely
their billable hours.
And this is why I go back to saying I want to look at this from an hourly rate, a daily rate, a monthly rate, a yearly rate, all those various different things. Because if you look at an employee on the books, you're going to pay them, so not what they cost you, but you're going to pay them somewhere around $50,000 to $80,000 a year. And that varies, obviously, but that's ballpark what you've got to pay them. Then you've got to pay their super on top of that. Then you've got to pay the workers' comp insurance and all of your other insurances and costs on top of those things.
Associated, yeah.
So if you've got an employee on the books full time, then say you pay them in the middle, you pay them $65,000, $70,000 for the year, because that's where they're up to at that point in time. For the fact that they're working for you for the full year, you've got to pay them for the full year. It doesn't matter whether you've had a wet year or a dry year, you've got to pay them. And then you've got to charge out their time so that you bring in probably, say, if they're on 65,000, you probably need to be bringing in close to $200,000 a year for them to actually make it justifiable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and every business will be different as to exactly what you need to charge out to make them viable. But yeah, I think a lot of people that don't survive, I guess, employee stage is because they haven't factored in how much it actually costs to run an employee.
Yeah.
And it's often been a thought in my mind, especially when I went from full time to part time, do I simply just put someone on and just manage them to do the work? And then I thought to myself, do I actually want that stress over my head as well as working a full time job?
Yeah, that's it.
It
is a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So that was my situation anyway.
I'm listening to what I was just saying there, and I'm going, okay, if I'm saying for an employee, I need to be turning over $200,000 a year, but for myself, I don't even aim for that. It's like, actually, I'm charging them out more than what I would charge out myself.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Which, does that mean I'm undervaluing myself, or does that mean that because they're an employee, I have to allow for all those expenses and still make a profit? So therefore, I'm more stringent about making sure that I get the right rate for them.
Yeah, it's funny how you sort of mentioned that too. I mean, for me personally too, like I haven't paid myself super in my own business, and I knew I wasn't going to start with. Maybe if I was 5 or 6 years in now, and if I was still full time, I would like to have thought that I'd have myself structured where I'd be paying myself a wage and super, and all of that stuff. I don't think I gave myself the opportunity to get into that position. So a lot of my efforts, I guess, for the first 12 months or 2 years was to make it successful and to draw enough to I guess, keep your roof over your head, I suppose.
Well, this is why I look at different figures. And, how I was just saying with the employee, I look at hourly rate, daily rate, monthly rate, weekly rate, all those different things. When you break down what it costs for you to go and do the work you do, I look at 3 different numbers, the profitability numbers. So if I stepped off the tools tomorrow, how much money would I make if an employee did the work? And most lawn care businesses should be between 15 and 30%. 30% is what the industry is supposedly getting there, but there's so much variation now.
Agreed, yeah.
Just a number, right? If you do the work yourself and you just look at simply for every $100 you bill out, $50 to $60 goes into your bank account, $40 to $50 goes to paying expenses. Right. So instead of needing $200,000 a year, you need somewhere around $100,000 to $150,000 a year in order for that to represent what you need working full time. Whereas if you look at the third number in profitability, if you go, okay, for every $100,000 that the business brings in, so 100,000 is an easy number to sort of break down percentages wise. For $100,000 turnover in a year, you might say that out of that $100,000, if you are the business, $85,000 benefits your lifestyle because your Care Carnival is part of that expense.
That's right.
Your mobile phone, your computer, the clothes which you're wearing 5 or 6 days a week are all part of that expense. That $85,000 includes a lot of your expenses, and there's about $15,000 in expenses related to running that business that don't actually improve your lifestyle.
That's right, yeah, and that's I guess the benefit that I have in my position, where a lot of the expenses that I can claim against the business, that the costs of the business do help with the lifestyle.
Yeah,
sure. Like you said, running the car, I claim a portion of my electricity because I use battery gear.
Yep.
All those little things add up. You don't see from a personal perspective.
Yeah.
Because the burden of that cost is borne by the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very different when you look at it from that perspective and aiming for somebody who's full-time, aiming for 1,000 hours a year, or in your case, you're doing it part-time and you're aiming for sort of 3 hours a day, 5 hours a day, depending on which shift you're on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
15 hours a week, total time. Yeah.
and you've got flexibility to handle some odd jobs like a laundromat being thrown at you.
Exactly right. Yeah. I worked it out not so long ago that like on my 3 weeks out of the month where I do in the afternoon, I have 3 hours to spare. When I add up how long it takes me to actually mow all of those lawns, I'm actually mowing for 15 hours a fortnight.
Okay, yeah. So
on my fortnightly schedule. So half the time that I spend is actual billable hours. But that doesn't include the additional stuff. So that's just the regular fortnightlies. So I think I'm running fairly efficiently in that respect, where I have got the time to take on those extra jobs, and I find that those extra jobs are the cream on top, where I can make a good profit on.
For sure.
The mowing just sort of keeps ticking over and gives me a nice steady income on top of my wage that I earn.
So that what you're saying there really confirms what Paul Luck was saying in terms of going aim for 1,000 hours a year, or half of what a full-time employee should be getting paid.
True.
That's roughly what you're billing out.
Yeah, roughly, isn't it?
Yeah. That's pretty true. He's a smart man, maybe. If he was really smart, he would come and join me in the dungeon, but he's so far refused to do that.
What are you
we'll
doing?
Keep the pressure on him.
Yeah, it's all right. Let's keep applying the screws. Yeah. He could teach us a thing or two, I think.
Look, he likes stirring people up, so come in the dungeon and get the chance to stir them up properly.
Yes. Yeah. We've done that already with our multiverse catch discussion.
Yep, that's right. Hey, look, it's been great talking to you. I'm very mindful that we've spent half the morning taking you away from your family.
Yeah, that's all right.
Look, let's wrap it up. But in wrapping it up, tell me what you see for the future of your business and what you think. Are you going to sort of maintain what you're doing at the moment for the part-time and being a worker with somebody else? You want it to be different?
Look, I'm pretty comfortable in my current situation.
Yeah.
While I don't think it's sustainable for a very long time, I'm a bit of a workaholic and I'm mindful of that myself.
Yeah.
But look, let's just face it. We all have cost of living pressures at the moment.
Yeah, we do.
So that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. My partner's also self-employed. She's a chef by trade, and she manufactures food for a living. Okay. So her business is, similar to mine. 3 years young, we both decided to leave working for the man at the same time and start running our own business. So while she's not generating much of an income, she's putting most of her income back into her business to try and get that going on the sole breadwinner for the family. So this is what I'm doing.
Do what works.
Yeah, exactly. So it works for me for the minute.
Maybe I should come back in 5 years and see where you're up to then.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully, she keeps promising me that I'll be retired and living off off her income, but I don't know about that. We'll see. But
well, I'm going to jump in here with a little bit of a rant. The margins are where it's at. So you look at the difference between what you're doing in business and what she's doing in business, and this is not meant to disparage anybody, by the way, but if your margin is 2% different, it can make the difference between whether you're getting ahead in leaps and bounds or whether you're going backwards. So if your business is making sure that each customer is profitable and that your unbillable hours are accounted for, then you can afford to sit back and chill out and relax and go, okay, I know that my business is heading the right direction and I know that I'm taking account of those things, and anything like we've mentioned, superannuation or, buying new tools, all those sorts of things you got to take account for. If you've built that into your margins, it is so easy for you to grow your business. And you can just go, okay, I can keep on doing what I'm doing. I can cut it back to half-time, part-time, and do it really casually, or I can build it up and ramp it up and have 10 employees and know that it's working really well. The point I'm making is that it's all in that margin. It can send you broke or it can build an empire.
Yeah, absolutely. I did go for a little time once I stepped back to part-time in the business where I wasn't keeping track of whether or not I was still being profitable.
Yeah.
And that's where I sort of woke up and said, you know what, James, you need to do this exercise again because your circumstances have changed. And I think, it doesn't have to be a milestone where you go from, part-time to full-time in your business or full-time to part-time in your business. I think everyone needs to, at least twice a year, look back, and especially if you're, changing the number of customers you have or the type of work that you do, I think you need to really drill down into your numbers. And
I think this is where a good CRM or a good accountant or both just revolutionizes how you do this, because it's important, even if you are chilling out and just going, yep, my business is working well, it really is important to keep an eye on the numbers. And if you keep an eye on the numbers, then the rest of it falls into place.
Yeah, agreed. You can work as hard or as effortlessly as you like, but if the numbers don't add up, is it worth your while doing it?
No, that is sobering question.
That's it. How funny.
Well, it's been great to talk to you, James. I'm glad I tracked you down, hunted you down, and dragged you into the dungeon kicking and screaming.
Oh, look, I may not have been kicking and screaming, but let's say we were kicking and screaming for the purpose of the dungeon, eh?
That's right. Yeah, that's what it's all about. The chains are comfy now, though. They're about to come off.
No, that's it. I appreciate it, mate. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure chatting.
No.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.